when concert pianists, or at least in olden days, chose their programs, they always put the shorter pieces first, and then they built up to the big piece. This is the big piece on this program. It's called 85 If. It's a poem that I wrote about the end of my mother's life, and it's called 85 If because I wrote it on the day that would have been her 85th birthday. She had, in fact, passed 9 years before. And this is an account of our relationship in her last days. The whump of iron on cotton. My left arm descended in a shallow arc that lulled me, affording comfort in the repetition. I stood where I've seen her stand at least 1,000 times, over the ironing board that folded down, out of the wall, beside the coat closet in the front room. Silent, she sat off to my left. I moved the chair, the one she'd never used until her sickness drove her into inactivity, from the far wall so she could see the set, the one she'd never watched, more easily. And it cut down the number of her steps, the ones she had to take so slowly now to get there from the kitchen. Hiss of steam and gurgle from the innards of the iron would interrupt and punctuate the soft insistence of my glancing blows. I worked the surfaces with care, wagging the tip around the buttons, down the collar seams, and revving up the smooth expanses of the front and back. The easy busyness of blessing I saw now she had enjoyed for all those years when I had watched her iron. The spray starts sputtered. I put down the can and dipped the iron's tip down to the spots of wet. Repeated questioning ensued. I pressed until the surface gleamed again. I folded up the shirts when I was done. She asked to see them. And she ran her hands so lightly over one, I might have missed how much her fingers told her. It was dry, the collar starched but not too glossy, smooth without a hint of scorching, folded up neatly, just like new. Then the pronouncement. You do a nice job. Mild astonishment combined with pride and followed by relief had found its way into her voice. And then, directed half to me, half to herself, and quieter in a way I'd never heard, she said, "Then I won't worry now. You're in good hands." Her cancer had returned that spring. We knew what every day together meant. But we assumed a different normalcy now that she couldn't push. Her mastery over the world demanded her attention. It always had. She'd never dropped her guard, and hers alone. Depression child, she lit a candle at the altar. Self-reliance would be her creed. She couldn't quite believe a job she might have done could ever be done really right by anybody else. And surely not as well, so why have help? She did it all, and did it all herself. She pounded through 10,000 dinners, paid the bills, hectored my dad, and got him moving, though never at the pace she would have liked. Was cornucopia to family and friends. She was the whirlwind, and our world emerged out of her will, spun ceaselessly. For her, there had been no easing of spurs until her body wouldn't carry her. So now she let go. And like horses loosed so long ago she had forgotten them and saw them as though new when they returned, the lessons came. I think she was surprised to learn how trusting me to do for her, after a lifetime, mine, when it had been the other way around, would make her feel. I hope it brought her back to 5 again, when parents would provide, and to accept was all her role, before her march began and she put up her arms against the world. I know it was a lesson learned in time to let her turn to me to help her die. For later, in the hospital, weeks after the doctors told me, anytime now. Days before the end, I at her bedside by ourselves, she said, half puzzled, half dismayed, "What's happening to me? I don't like it." I didn't have to search for what to say. "You're still facing this world," I said. "You need to turn and face the other way." And she, who'd shook the earth and might have upbraided heaven, took it to heart and said yes to it all. So we moved closer as she moved away. There have been lives more blessed, but ours will do.